Are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
The following program is for mature and logical audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tonight on House Hunters. Stacy and Steve are a married couple from Asheville, North Carolina, looking for a new home after their last home was destroyed in Hurricane Helene. Their budget? $750 US American dollars. Welcome to House Hunters, FEMA edition.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically. Hope you enjoyed that cold open. First original cold open in a while, I guess. I'm your host, Joseph Anthony Corsai, and today we have another jam-packed show for you. Today we're going to be covering Kamala's new accent, Hurricane Milton, Biden blaming Ukraine on Obama, gays for Trump, and yinzers for Kamala Harris. But first, we got to introduce the crew. First, he's a yinzer. He is a yinzer, but he's not for Kamala Harris. If I find out he is, I'll fire him immediately. It's Ryan Garazunas. Ryan, how are you?
Good. How you doing today, my man?
I am great. And
good. Trying
to get Mark on the phone now. Is he patched in yet? I guess we'll give Mark 1 second. Here with us for this segment and this segment only, I guess, Mr. Gordy. We'll give him 10 seconds to get patched through. If not, we'll just start off. We got quite a lot to get to. All right, we'll try to get him back. But today, I want to start off by naming some October surprises we have seen so far, just 10 days into October. First, we had a story from 2012 about our second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, beating his then girlfriend because she talked to a cabbie. Then Joe Biden, who was pretty much a corpse for the last 4 years. I guess he somehow decided to reanimate himself and walk like a zombie to the Brady press room to finally give a press briefing after 4 whole years. Remember, what made that more of a surprise was it seemed he was trying to counter-program Kamala Harris, who was holding a rally at the time. Then we had back-to-back major hurricanes hit our country. One of them hit the mountains of Tennessee and in North Carolina, 100 miles inland. The other, I believe, for the first time in 100 years, formed in the middle of the Caribbean and quickly hit Category 5. But you know, it wasn't an October surprise, or a surprise, I guess, in general. CBS editing Kamala's answers in her interview this week with 60 Minutes. In fact, 60 Minutes not only edited out Kamala's response, but they replaced it with what now appears to be responses from entirely different questions. This should be it for 60 Minutes, honestly. After how they handled the Russian laptop with Trump and now this... They can't have any credibility left. And also, boy, has Trump been vindicated for telling 60 Minutes to buzz off last week with their interview. They should have apologized, and they need to apologize again. So now Trump is on the offensive with CBS and 60 Minutes, demanding they release the full transcripts. Again, just to say it again, CBS lied to the American people in an election year. In an election month, mind you, because we are now voting. People are now voting. Anyway, they lied to us, the American people, by using her answers to questions as responses to different questions. Any word on Mark? No?
It's our machine.
Okay, our machine apparently, our phone call machine is apparently down. We'll have to get that fixed. But aside from editing in different answers for Harris, CBS edited out everything she said about defending Israel and Hamas, from Hamas and Hezbollah, and their right to do so. It's strange. So Biden, again, speaking of counter-programming Kamala, he did it again on Tuesday. She was on The View, and for the second time in I guess, a 7-10 day period, he decided to counter-program her holding a briefing at the White House on hurricane relief. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to me. Now, Kamala, she inserts herself into this hurricane relief thing going on, and she's doing nothing but photo ops, it seems. Kamala yesterday, or I'm sorry, this was on October 8th, said DeSantis is playing political games with Hurricane Milton. Biden came out yesterday and said that DeSantis has been completely cooperative and is doing a great job. Again, all Kamala is doing is staging photo ops. No real help. So why is she hindering relief efforts by going after DeSantis? And why is Biden being this good? Ryan, do you have anything to say about Biden's actions on why he...
That's a good question, Joe.
He was a corpse for...
Yeah.
It is Halloween. I guess he reanimated as a zombie for Halloween, maybe, to go and talk to the American people. Remember what Trump said during the last debate about, what was it, Joe and Kamala? He said he hates her. She basically stole the nomination from him, went behind his back and stabbed his boss in the back. He hates her. And I think, I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive, I think that's what we're seeing here. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Biden also asked if Governor DeSantis needs to take Kamala Harris's calls. He was asked, I'm sorry. Ryan, play that audio when you get a chance.
Mr. President, does Governor DeSantis need to take Vice President Harris's calls?
All I can tell you is I'm talking to Governor DeSantis. He's been very gracious. He's thanked me for all we've done. He knows what we're doing, and I think that's important.
He didn't defend her at all or give her any wiggle room out of that. Nothing. I mean, granted, I think his number one worry might be the people in harm's way in Florida, him and DeSantis both. But again, how is this good for Kamala when there's an election in 3.5 weeks? He has to know that. Well, maybe he doesn't know that, I guess. It's Joe Biden. So I guess he doesn't. But all right. So the hurricane's going on. What does Kamala do on, I believe it was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. Not Monday or Tuesday. What does she do while people are preparing for this hurricane? She goes on Stephen Colbert. And she goes on Stephen Colbert and she has a beer. We'll talk about an incredibly dense moment. And Kamala wins on X and Twitter, bragged about it. Kamala Harris just cracked open a beer with Stephen Colbert. Kamala Harris is showing off her personal and loving personality. Retweet to make sure all Americans see this. You know who can't see it, Ryan? The people with no electricity, no power, no internet in a couple states of the United States. Hey, but who cares about them, I guess, right? Best she just go there and put toothpaste and toothbrushes in bags as slow as humanly possible. My Lord. All right, we got a few audio clips.
They're certainly not putting their best foot forward as you would if you're trying to get a job.
No.
You know, this is what you're going to get with her for the next 4 years.
Should have put your best candidate forward.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't her.
No.
Probably wasn't Biden, but Biden didn't see. I can't believe I'm saying this. The 90-year-old corpse might have been better than her. Was better than her. Ron DeSantis also. Yeah. So I got to give Ron DeSantis credit. He did bring in tons of linemen from all over the state to help. Not only all over the state, all over other states he brought in linemen from. Now, Ryan, I'm guessing none of these linemen came from the Pittsburgh Steelers?
They have not.
They have no more to give.
We have no more to give.
All right. So Kamala, she goes on Stephen Colbert. She goes on The View. Let's just go over some of these sound clips. Even from 60 Minutes. They're terrible. Ryan, play Kamala Iran when you get a chance.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you
and
have
that
proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
Oh, okay. Iran. She says Iran is the biggest. What a dumb answer. I could think of literally 10. 10. I mean, we're at war. Are we at war with Russia because we're giving Ukraine tons of weapons? So are they an adversary? Is China an adversary? I don't know. I don't think it's Iran. When you pair Iran up with the United States, if it was Iran, I think we'd have a little bit tighter grip on our border, considering we don't know who's coming over, if they're from terrorist countries or not. Then she was on, I think, The View, and she was asked what if she would change anything. And her answer was that no, nothing comes to mind that she would change. Ryan, play that audio whenever you get a chance.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Look, the list is long. From her signing that Inflation Reduction Act, the deciding vote as vice president, the Inflation Reduction Act, to being the last one in the room when the Afghanistan decisions were being made. Maybe giving up the military base that was located on a hill and using a civilian air base that was in a valley that resulted in double-digit American deaths. Maybe that was something you might want to go over and redo. I don't know. It just makes me sick. But again, what would you expect from someone like Kamala Harris? We don't even know who she is. We don't even know how she really talks. She's gone through about 15 different accents from black to white to Middle East. Now she's, Ryan, would you believe I said she's Jamaican now?
You know what? At this point, Joe, I will believe anything.
Have you heard this Jamaican clip of her talking Jamaican?
I have not.
I thought it was Irish at first, but the more you listen to it, it is Jamaican. Play Jamaican Kamala.
Have you no empathy, man? You know, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
Oh, you know, I hear Irish, I Jamaican too. What do you make of that? Is this a joke? Why did she even go into Jamaica? There was no Jamaica. Where is that even filmed at? Not New York, so Southside Jamaica, Queens. Why would you speak in a Jamaican accent? I don't know.
A terrible Jamaican
accent that would offend like even Bob Marley.
That was like Lucky from the Lucky Charms.
That's right. We need to get up, stand up for what's right, and it's not Kamala Harris. I can't believe it. Jamaican accents in 2024. I don't get it. Like we 20 years ago, you take politics and this, doing any kind of accent. Howard Dean yelled, "Byaw!" into the microphone. That was it.
Yeah, remember that.
Out. 10 days later, out. My Lord. But now, accents, do whatever. All right. The Associated Press, I love articles like this. So the Associated Press, they did a summary on Kamala Harris' appearance on Howard Stern. And when I say it's hilarious, listen, Ryan, listen to what they actually wrote down for people to read. She ate a family-sized bag of Doritos after Trump beat Hillary Clinton. She works out on an elliptical every day. Her first job, this is starting to sound like the most interesting woman in the world, but like just terrible. Her first job was cleaning test tubes at her mother's laboratory, and she got fired. Her favorite Formula One driver is Lewis Hamilton. She went to see U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and she recommends going with a clear head, meaning not high on drugs because, quote, there's a lot of visual stimulation. What the hell? Why would you write this? This is the Associated Press. Howard Stern, that's the summary. So if you missed her on Howard Stern and you're like, let me just see how it went, if I should vote for her. Hell no. The Formula One thing, like, I don't know, say NASCAR. Maybe she could, what's it called? Talk NASCAR more. That'll get Frank pander to NASCAR. She get someone like Frank Sparks to be all over it. Maybe that could be the deciding factor right there. I don't know. But this shade war going on between her and Joe Biden too is just another thing I can't get over. It's strange to me. So congratulations on Joe Biden from waking up from his vegetative state that he's been in for the last half decade. But I don't know. I don't know how they defend Kamala, how you defend voting for Kamala What is even different really about Kamala than Joe Biden? They're the same. It's the administration. She even said it herself earlier. Well, it gets better. Kamala's advisor, Mitch, I think Landry, was on CNN, and he was asked how Kamala is different from Biden. And you'll never believe what he said. Ryan, play that audio.
Is it the Kamala?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vice President Harris has been asked repeatedly how she's different than President Biden, and some people think she's been tripped up by answering that. How do you think she is different than President Biden?
Well, first of all, whatever the differences is between them, it's not nearly as vast as the difference between her and Donald Trump. She's obviously a woman. She is a woman of color, and she is of a new generation. So she.
Why do they always have to bring up Trump, number one? Well, she's not Trump, and she's black and stuff, too. What the hell was that all about? What does that have to do with anything? She's black. Ryan, you're a producer, right?
Yes, sir.
How are you any different than the Diddler, who was also a producer?
How am I any different from him?
You're white and you have a beard. That's it, right?
That's true. Well, yeah.
There's nothing else. I can't think of anything else. When you got out of your truck, I should have checked it for bottles of baby oil.
Yeah, yes, you should have.
I should have, but I didn't. That's my fault.
That's why I have the extended cab.
All right. So let's look at some internal polling here. Actually, this is from Election Wizard. Wall Street Journal. Democrats have privately grown worried about Kamala Harris's standing among working-class voters in the crucial blue wall states. An internal poll done by Democrat Tammy Baldwin's Senate campaign last weekend showed Harris down by 3 percentage points in Wisconsin, while Baldwin was up by 2 points. Those aren't good numbers at all. Also, this is from Bad Hombre on X. A Harris campaign staffer revealed to Axios that their Sunbelt internal polling was so bad they've recognized the only viable path forward for Harris is winning both Michigan and Pennsylvania, 2 states where she's apparently underwater with key demographics. The staffer also noted that a sense of impending doom hangs heavily over the campaign in its final weeks, with a Trump return now feeling inevitable. The joy is gone. This is also from Jesse Kelly on X. I have 2 different people in the last 24 hours tell me Kamala Harris is doing so poorly that she's officially bringing down the entire ticket. Both of these people are people who would know, take that for what it's worth, but they weren't just speculating. And I don't know, take it for what it is or what it's worth. This is from Jack Posobiec on X. Hearing Democrat fundraisers are transitioning, not that kind of transitioning, get that out of your head. Democrat fundraisers are transitioning from telling donors they are stopping Trump to telling donors they are undermining Trump. So it appears they are expecting Kamala to lose and play the 2017 game where it's nothing but lawfare, PP tape hoaxes and stuff like that for 4 years. Ukraine. Remember the Ukraine call that was perfect? Hey, I'm calling Trump. I'm calling to figure out this money that Joe Biden... We're not going to get the Ukraine. I'm sorry. Not right now, at least. All right, so that's the internal polling. And that covers pretty much everything I wanted to get about Kamala Harris. I did notice Trump was on the campaign trail today. Switched to him. And he is quoted as saying, I am announcing that as a part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible. Sounds like a great idea. How long until Kamala copies this, Ryan?
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have here before I want to take a break? Let's do the New York Appellate Court. So this is exciting news. The New York Appellate Court has thrown out all 36 felony charges on Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, that means Trump is not a felon. People are saying by the time it was over, the prosecution was asking to not be sanctioned. They were waving the white flag. He's going to get all of his money back too. This is an amazing story. Again, like we said, I think the court asked him, "Hey, the court is a panel of 5 judges," and they asked the prosecution, as a case like this, where there's no victim, the loan was paid back, the loan from the bank, that bank even testified that nothing was done wrong. Has anyone ever been charged for that in the history of law? And they couldn't find one example. Just like we told you, this was lawfare to stop a presidential candidate from running during an election year. It's election interference. Makes me sick. All right. Again, he's getting all his money back. Rich get richer. Woo! All right, when we come back, we're going to be talking Hurricane Milton. Did Tampa Bay get lucky? Did our prayers for them work? Or was the hurricane broken apart by the sound of church bells? I don't know. We'll talk about it when we return to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gulla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gulla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. No inspections and a fair cash offer. Visit PGHbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearm store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. Brought to you by So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing. Whether you need your house washed, driveway clean, patio done, fences, gutters, you name it, call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing at 724-252-4489. That's 724-252-4489. They're fully insured and offer free estimates. So what are you waiting for? Don't be the outcast in your neighborhood with a dirty decker house. Call So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing today. Also, if you want to call in to the show to discuss anything you want, actually, from the hurricane to Kamala to Joe Biden's mental state, 724-774-1888 or 724-843-1888. Ryan, question for you. What sounds more crazy? The government can create hurricanes, maybe controlling the weather, has been for years, or someone born a man that one day wakes up and thinks he's a woman and expects everyone else to play pretend land with them.
Which one's more crazy?
Yeah.
Listen, for one, I know that there's endless amounts of patents over time where people had that had patents been made for weather manipulation.
Yes.
I mean, it's been going on for years. I mean, there's literally dozens. And then the other question is now about this, Joe. I mean, if I came up to you and said that I'm King Ryan, and you have to respect everything I say and act like I'm a king, as if with these people you have to pretend that they're a woman if they're not, or you have to pretend that they're a man if they're not, or you have to pretend they're a cat if they're not. This whole crazy time that we're going through. And now, if I told you that I'm King Ryan and you have to treat me as if I'm a king, that's bull. I would never expect that of anybody. I wouldn't ask that of anybody. However, that makes that the crazier part, because A, I do believe that the weather manipulation does happen regularly, and B is crazy because, again, those people are expecting everybody else to play their little game. We all have lives. We all have responsibilities. We're all trying to get by. I don't have time to pretend that you're a cat. I don't have time to pretend that you're a woman. You know what I mean? B. The answer is B.
I might identify as Hurricane Joe from now on.
There you go.
Just whatever I do whatever I want.
See what I'm saying? If everybody would heed to this, Joe, it would be an insane world. I think everybody could. A lot of people could agree on that.
You brought up the patents, though, and that's funny because I think it's like the 60-year anniversary or some anniversary of the first experiment on the weather by our government. I saw it somewhere. I should have looked it up for the show today. And
that's it's all public.
It's all right there.
Get out and look this stuff up, people. There are dozens that I know of, and I mean there may be more. The list that I've seen is a very long list.
What they do is they throw like code words in, like Democrats. They think Democrats are controlling the weather. It's not Democrats controlling the weather.
Right.
If anything, it would be the Pentagon or the three-letter agencies or the military-industrial complex. That's how they say it's the Democrats, and they call you conspiracy theories, and they're kind of right. But I never said Democrats. Did you ever say Democrats were controlling the weather?
No, and again, to call somebody like that a conspiracy theorist is not a bad thing. I mean, you're looking at it realistically, and you're saying, hey, these are patents that are out there. It's not crazy that this is being said that this is going on. But again, if so-and-so wants me to treat her like a cat, that's crazy, Joe. Come on.
It is. It wasn't, hey, 20 years ago, we used to give these people lithium and they'd be on their merry way. Maybe they get better. Maybe it take a little while. Now by the way, so what kind of cat litter do you like? Yes. All right.
Or just anything for that matter. Take anything in the world that you want to be and just start telling everybody that that's what you are.
I want to be an NFL. Actually, I want to be just a relief pitcher. I'm not being greedy. I just want to be an MLB relief pitcher.
Now go down to the stadium and tell them people as you're walking in the building and see how that plays out for you.
Is that too much to ask, though? It's an easy gig.
Right.
Why can't it be me? I'm not asking me the starting pitcher. I'm not asking me the all-star. I'm just a relief pitcher. Just give me 1 or 2 games a week, 1 or 2 innings a week. That's all I want.
But Joe, you could be that if you want, and everybody else has to heed to it and believe that you are a pitcher if that's what you say.
I got a nice junk ball. All I can throw probably is the Ephus pitch, if anyone even remembers what that is.
But you see what I'm saying? If people would look at it logically, if you would think it doesn't make sense, Joe. How it's crazy.
It's crazy how they can lie to our face, and people actually, but just like with the FEMA, isn't using your money, your tax money, for illegals. That's completely true. FEMA is using our tax dollars for illegals.
And two, this is the biggest, these 2 hurricanes, Joe, this is what FEMA's there for. This is literally what they're there for emergency situations.
For immigrants.
Yeah, I guess. But come on, look at these hurricanes. This should not be a problem getting money to help these people.
Unless the hurricane sweeps up an immigrant on a boat from Haiti and he lands in the middle of the United States, should not get anything from us. Again, they say FEMA spending your tax dollars on illegals, it's 100% a fact. What does FEMA stand for? Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Yes.
So if they're telling us they have to spend this money on illegals, then they lied for the last 3.5 years about it not being an emergency, about the overall situation in general, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're a government agency, FEMA, that helps. Let me actually read. They help citizens and first responders prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters. Again, we were told immigration wasn't a disaster or an emergency in 2021 and 2022, right?
Could you read that again? Just what you just read. Read that one more time.
FEMA, it's Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's a U.S. government agency that helps citizens.
Stop. That's right there.
Right?
Right there.
Right? Yeah, there's nothing about illegals. There's nothing about anything.
They're taking all that money that belongs to exactly what it is that they're saying that they do and giving it to people who aren't citizens, which is the very first line of what FEMA is to help the citizens.
Yeah, and the first responders who will be illegal probably too. I mean, I think they're already going to start bringing in illegals to stop being police officers. Who knows what's next in this country? Remember, the border was sealed, Ryan. Immigration was a right-wing talking point. You were crazy. And now, supposedly there was no money for hurricane relief, according to Mayorkas. Now I guess they found some. So were they just magically trying to fish for more money of the American taxpayer? Sounds like that's what they were doing. But let's get to Hurricane Milton. So hours before landfall, a hurricane tracker reported that the eye of the hurricane, I don't know which eye, the western eastern eye, collapsed in on itself and was graded down to a category 3. I guess Tampa got hit pretty hard, but from all that I've saw, it could have been much worse. And a lot of people are saying that. If the wall, the eye of the wall of the hurricane, whatever it is, if it didn't collapse, Tampa could have been destroyed, and that bay drained out. I guess if that bay had not drained out, Tampa could have been underwater as well. So, I don't know. It's a miracle. Call it a miracle. Maybe our prayers worked. I know FEMA didn't. Ryan, do you hear the new conspiracy theories? It's to ring church bells to stop a hurricane, something with the frequency.
No, you brought it up briefly just for a moment in the last segment. What's that about?
I have no honestly idea where this stuff comes, but I saw it on the internet, so it's got to be true, right?
It's got to be.
If the government or Dr. Fauci or something would come out and say, you know what, this is complete and utter misinformation, then I would believe it. But until that happens, then it's, like I said, it's just, I don't know, just something, whatever. All right. So Trump yesterday, he actually housed 275 Florida linemen at a resort, I think it was Mar-a-Lago, ahead of Hurricane Milton's landfall. DeSantis, we made the Steelers joke about them having no linemen. DeSantis did a similar thing. Well, today, Joe Biden told Trump to get a life and help the hurricanes. Just listen to the clip. Play the clip, please, when you get a chance.
Mr. President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
This is after Joe Biden flew over Tennessee and Carolina. Get a life. Help these people. But honestly, he seems sharp as a tack sometime when he's going after Kamala. Then he says stuff like this and he seems like a doofus. It gets better though, Ryan. Listen to what he said when he was asked about communications with him and Benjamin Netanyahu is from half a world away in Israel. Play that one, Ryan.
Mr. President, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu tell you about his plans relating to retaliation?
He's coming over to help with a storm.
What?
Oh.
That's not even close. How? How do you mess up? Is he being sarcastic?
I don't know.
I don't think he is. But there's time where he just seems so sharp, and then he says something like that, and it's like, does this guy even care at all? Because number one, if you cared at all, you wouldn't make that joke. It's a legitimate question. You wouldn't make a hurricane joke about it when there's people that are dead. And number two, I don't know what this guy. I don't know what this administration anymore. I can't figure it out.
It's so bizarre.
Is he there were times when I honestly thought Joe Biden was faking it to get out of future prosecutions with the laptop and everything else.
Yeah.
The last 3 weeks, I'm starting to bring that up again in my mind. Where is he's sharp 1 minute? Maybe that is dementia. I don't know. But like he goes after Kamala, like he gets DeSantis' back, goes after Kamala. And he sounds like sharp, normal. And then they're talking about Israel, and he's talking about the hurricanes.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's coming to fix the storm.
Well, how would he? Israel.
Oh, jeez.
I've heard of Jews controlling money, but never the weather. I mean, come on.
That's something.
Joe Biden said it, not me. All right. Let's move on to The Atlantic. The Atlantic is a news outlet, I guess, a paper, whatever you want to call it these days. So The Atlantic, they're endorsing a presidential candidate, and you'll never guess who it is. Actually, you will. So this is from the article. For only the 5th time, The Atlantic is endorsing a presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. She believes in the freedom, equality, and dignity of all Americans. Our editors write. She won't abuse the power of the highest office in order to keep it. Really? She won't? Because that's news to me. She's been going around saying how we need to use our 3-letter agencies to police what people say on social media. She wanted to have a gun buyback not too long ago. Ryan, this wasn't too long ago when she was with the NAACP threatening to use the DOJ to go after social media platforms and users, mind you, for exercising their First Amendment right. Play that audio when you get a chance, Ryan.
Will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
As a community, I think that means just as the federal agency, the federal troops, the three-letter agencies, not as a community. Because, Ryan, did you want to hold anyone accountable for what they said on social media regarding COVID misinformation or anything like that? Ever?
No, I just assumed that it was fell under freedom of speech, and we all have a right to express our opinion. That's what I was raised to believe.
Did you ever say the famous line, threat to democracy? That's the famous line they use.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question. Who gets to decide these days or in the future what misinformation is? In hindsight, back in 2020, when it came to COVID, all the so-called experts were the ones spreading the mis and disinformation. Then the experts used the mainstream media to spread their mis and disinformation to the public and get us to believe things that weren't true. It was the random people on the internet that were getting it right, and they had their accounts suspended or shut down by Twitter via our own government. You have to understand that's how it works. When you think of like Nazi Germany or China, Red China or Soviet Russia, the government might shut people down. Here we have freedom, so the government can't shut us down. They have to put pressure, which is exactly what Kamala was saying, on the social media companies through control via three-letter agencies or just to put pressure on them to police free speech, our First Amendment. It's amazing to me.
That's some shaky ground. That is, Joe. I don't like that.
All right. Again, just to ask a question to the audience to prove my point. Where did the virus come from? A lab in Wuhan or a pangolin having intercourse with a bat at a fish market where everything swims underwater? Do you have an answer?
I don't know.
All right, Ryan, it's time for a break. I hate to bring up COVID-19 again, but we got a new sponsor, too. Remember Now That's What I Call Music?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got something a little similar for you and our audience. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logic at 99.3 FM WBVP. Do you remember the coronavirus? Well, then you'll love this collection of sound bites from the past few years. Introducing Now That's What I Call COVID-19 Myths and Disinformation Edition, including outright lies by Rachel Maddow.
Right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way, now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
And falsehoods from other outlets, including, of all places, Sesame Street.
Oh, Rosita, that's great. Getting the COVID vaccine is a great way to stay healthy.
See, my mommy and my papi said that it will help keep me, my friends, my neighbors, my abuela, all healthy.
Your parents are absolutely right. You know, COVID vaccines are now available for children 5 years and older. And the more people who get them, the better we're going to be able to help stop the spread of COVID and keep everyone healthy.
That's right. An entire album filled with a little misinformation. Call now and buy one and get your second copy for free. But remember, this is misinformation, so we may still charge your credit card for that second one. Maybe even a third one. Hell, the economy's the best it's ever been, so why not a fourth one? You'll never notice. Call and get yours today. Now that's what I call COVID-19 Myths and Disinformation Edition. You know, when Joe Biden shuffles in front of the cameras to answer scripted questions during the day, he lies like Don King. But what you don't know is, when he goes to sleep at night, he lies like an Egyptian king because he uses MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. Use the promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings on this amazing product. Cash for your house. PGHbuyers.com. If you have an unwanted house but don't want the hassle of selling, visit PGHbuyers.com to see if PGHbuyers.com can help. no inspections, and a fair cash offer. Visit pghbuyers.com to sell that unwanted property for a fair price today. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearm store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here, 99.3 FM WBVP. Earlier we were talking about Hurricane Milton. Kamala and Joe Biden, their shade war, while Joe Biden is all of a sudden counter-programming Kamala 3 weeks before an election. And much, much more. Now we're going to get to books in the latest Bob Woodward book. Now, Ryan, you probably have no idea who Bob Woodward is, do you?
The name is familiar, but I can't recall.
So Bob Woodward, in my opinion, is basically a CIA agent or source, with whatever the term is. So I always take whatever he writes with a grain of salt. Remember, the devil will tell you 9 truths just to get you to believe 1 lie. That's kind of Bob Woodward, I believe, in my opinion. But anyway, the new Bob Woodward book reveals how candid behind-the-scenes conversation between Biden and Trump and Biden and Harris and Biden and Putin went. The book is called War. In it, we get a behind-the-scenes look at President Joe Biden's blunt, profanity-laced assessments and interactions with world leaders who have shaped his presidency. What kind of shape is that? Jeez. The book also reveals new details about Donald Trump's private conversations with Putin and a secret shipment of COVID-19 testing equipment Trump sent to the Russian president for his personal use during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I guess Trump denied those reports that Bob Woodward has in his book. Also in the book, though, Joe Biden blamed, Ryan, you'll never guess who he blamed for Ukraine.
Oh, geez, who do you blame?
Oh, Barack, his former boss, Barack Obama. Let me read this part right here. Ahead of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Biden complained that Obama didn't do enough to stop Putin in 2014 when the Russian leader invaded Crimea. They effed up, Biden said to a friend, according to Woodward. That's why we are here. Barack never took Putin seriously.
That's interesting.
Now, Ryan, I don't like or support Mitt Romney, but you might remember this from, I think it was 2012, when Obama laughed him out of the room, off the stage, whatever the analogy is you want to use, for emphasizing how dangerous Russia is growing by the day. Remember that? Do you remember Obama's response?
I do not.
The 1980s called, they want their foreign policy back. Now do you remember?
Wow, yes.
So why is Joe Biden on fire, and why is he going after Kamala and Obama, a.k.a. Kalamaba? I don't know. Obama.
I don't know. That's interesting, Joe.
I don't think anyone knows. These are just all rhetorical questions. If you know, or you think you know, please call in 724-774-1888 or 843-1888. I'd love to know. But this whole Ukraine thing, is Russia really the bad guy in Ukraine to begin with? I'm not saying they're the good guys. I'm certainly not saying that, but it's much more complicated, I think. This is why you can't listen to the media. You can't even listen to Bob Woodward. They lie right to your face about stuff. Don't believe me? Then you haven't been paying attention the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, okay? Their main objective, the MO, is to push a narrative on you. Remember when the media told us Putin wanted to take over all of Ukraine and basically make it a Russian puppet state? Bring back the USSR? That's just flat out false. If Putin, think about it, just think, if Putin and Russia really did want to take over the Ukraine, they would have invaded with a little bit more than 50,000 troops, right? Right? Anyone? Just me. Also, think logically, they probably would have taken a page out of our book, where we bombed the nation's capital and all of its infrastructure into complete non-existence before marching in and removing the old government and replacing them with newly elected leaders, aka puppets, like Iraq, Afghanistan. You can name it. If you can name more, name more. Russia does not and never did want to take over Ukraine and install its own puppet government. The news told you that to fit a narrative, probably a narrative to get your sons and daughters to go die in a war for the military-industrial complex. Russia did not want NATO on its border. All it wanted was what everyone agreed to. Everyone, NATO, Ukraine, everyone. What everyone agreed to in 2015 with the Minsk Agreement, to keep NATO off its borders along with that other stuff. Ukraine reneged, and that's why we're here now. I think Putin was smart by waiting for Joe Biden to take office rather than Trump, though. That's just my opinion. Ryan, what did you think about that analysis?
Your analysis?
Yeah.
Sound good.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
These problems don't go back to last year, 4 years ago. They go back 10, even 20,
absolutely.
30 years. All they go back to World War II. All right. Speaking of things that will never be solved or answered, the Epstein list. Did you see Elon Musk sat down with Tucker and said billionaires that support Kamala are nervous? He said Trump's going to release the Epstein list, and the names on it probably include Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates.
Well, interesting.
Reid Hoffman's one that kind of flies on the radar. No one really knows or talks about. But Bill Gates being on the Epstein list, again, we don't know what these people were going down to that island for. Do you? If you know what the people were going on the Epstein Island for, please call 724-774-1888 or 843-1888, and we'd love to hear what you think.
Maybe they're going down to help people that were in a hurricane.
Ah, that could be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, this Epstein list, this is why another reason we need to get Trump elected, because if he gets elected and he doesn't release the Epstein list, I'm going to turn on him. Will you turn on him? And I think it'd be a lot easier to put pressure on Trump than someone like Kamala or Joe Biden, because I feel like we'd have other people with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Take it for what it is. All right. Updating a weird story from was it this week or last week? I think it was Monday's episode. Anyway, Georgia environmental official Kenny Johnson, the guy that reportedly collapsed and died after giving his testimony at the state capitol, biolab fire, remember that? We got more information on this. So Kenny Johnson, the Rockdale County Soil and Water Conservation District supervisor, testified alongside business owners and leaders about the biolab chemical fire this week. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office said that due to circumstances of Johnson's death, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation has agreed to investigate. An official cause of death will be determined once an autopsy is completed. After delivering his remarks, Johnson, quote, complained of shortness of breath and subsequently collapsed in a hallway after the meeting. That's according to a statement from the Georgia House Democrat Caucus. So Johnson was one of a growing number of local Georgia officials and lawmakers calling for the biolab to shut its doors after this instance. The fire forced 17,000 people to evacuate the area and about 90,000 more to shelter in place as toxic plumes spread. He's quoted as saying, "I knew that this was going to happen." That's what he told reporters on Monday. "We have an environmental disaster." And he also said in testimony that he was going to bring up stuff that resulted in warrants for the mayor. And also, he's quoted, "How are we going to solve this? We need a federal criminal investigation." And he's dead. So that's unfortunate, I guess. Guess we'll never get to hear anything more of this. Again, a biolab blows up. Had a couple issues with biolabs last, half decade. So a biolab blows up. A guy who testifies, claims that he's going to bring up stuff that results in warrants and we need a federal investigation, and then he dies of a heart attack shortly later. Ryan, what are the odds of that?
You know what? You're seeing it more and more nowadays. And it's crazy because I can't recall what it was. Just, I believe within the past week, I've heard something very similar to somebody having something, information, and they just so happen to end up, what do they call it now? Unaliving.
Oh,
they run alive.
Oh, jeez.
And, you see that way too much anymore.
You do.
The coincidences are crazy.
We don't know how this person died, anything. Chalk it up to another coincidence. All right, we got to take one more break, but when we come back, what if I told you the Afghan national accused of plotting an ISIS terror attack on Election Day worked for the CIA. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it when we return to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP.
Tune in to Driving in the Fast Lane with Frank Sparks on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 9 a.m. Frank will talk about what's happening in the news, locally, regionally, and nationally. There's also music to get you started for the day, and Curtis Walsh will have the news. The show is brought to you by Patriot Home Care, so set your radio dial to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. We're streamed live on BeaverCountyRadio.com, so you can listen every morning on Beaver County Radio.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fried Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fried Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
Do you like sports? Then tune in every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Brian is loaded with statistics and interesting sports viewpoints. The show can also be seen on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page. Plus, Brian will be taking your calls as well. That's One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Beaver County Radio.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearms store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WNBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WNBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WNBA.
Welcome back to 99.3 FM WBVP. You're listening to Thinking Logically. Before the break, we were talking about that, what was his name? Kenny Johnson, the individual that was killed.
Yes.
I don't want to say he was killed, that died, passed out and died. And Ryan, you brought up a point during the break about the 3 scientists that died not long after the East Palestine disaster in a plane crash at Hillary Rodham Clinton Airport in Arkansas. So, what are the odds?
And as I said, there was a line, I love Seinfeld, and there was a line where George Costanza made an uncomfortable joke on an episode where he had said, what's the chances that all these baseball teams fly around from city to city all season long and there's never a plane crash? You know what I mean? Which is kind of a sinister thought. However, what's the chances these planes fly all over the world every day, every minute? And these people with the cancer, they ended up being the ones that have the cure, whatever it was they had, they ended up in a crash.
The flight that disappeared, MH370, had the patents that were on that for, what is it called, that NVIDIA does? Semiconductors.
Okay, yeah.
Then that plane disappeared. It had 4 or 5 people from, I forget the company, and they had all patents on this kind of stuff. And
it's all these planes that have really important, relevant things, and they're the ones that always seem to crash.
Or maybe people that Hillary Clinton just doesn't like. We don't know.
Or that.
All right. Let's move on to this Afghani national. So Afghan national, 27-year-old Nasir Ahmad Tawadi, he conspired and attempted to provide material support to ISIS and obtain firearms and ammunition to conduct a violent attack on U.S. soil in the name of ISIS. The FBI has arrested the Afghan national, who they say was plotting the ISIS-inspired terror attack on Election Day, mind you. He was arrested with an unnamed minor involved in the conspiracy. So was he trafficking the minor? How old was the minor? I'm interested to know that. He traveled to the U.S. on a special immigrant visa in 2021? He came over when? September 9th of 2021? That was after the fall of Kabul. Maybe he was one of the people that didn't fall off the plane as it was taking off, Ryan. We were told these people were vetted too. And it gets better because we find out that this guy worked as a security guard for the CIA in Afghanistan. What are the odds, Ryan?
Yeah.
What are the freaking odds with that one? Hold on, I'm going to pull up something here that I wanted to read. Yeah, September 9th, 2021. It doesn't make any sense to me. After Trump takes office in January, I'm sorry, we're going to have to dissolve the FBI, DHS, DOJ, CIA, a bunch of other of these three-letter rogue agencies. Rebuild them, tear them down, and rebuild them from the ground up more effectively. Make them more effective, more accountable for sure. And make them have to fear the people, not the people fearing them. Make them have to answer to the people. It's just government bureaucracy until then. Again, he was arrested for plotting an election day terrorist attack. He entered the country September 9th, 2021. Hold on. I don't have the audio, but if you remember back to September 1st, 2021, Jen Psaki, she was the press secretary. This is her on Afghan refugees. From the press secretary podium, I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process. I think it's time they need to, do over the background check for the CIA too, because a terrorist somehow got into the CIA. What is the hardest government agency do you think to get into? Isn't it like the CIA? You hear about the polygraph.
You would think, yeah.
I mean, Tucker Carlson brags about how he tried out for the CIA and didn't make it.
Yeah, right. People just don't accidentally land in the CIA.
No. But again, we're told one thing for 4 years almost, 3.5 years, and we find out in an election year when all the cards are on the table that it's the exact opposite. We're told no. Don't pay attention. All right. The only topic that I could think of to transition from Afghanistan to now, gays for Trump. So, I think I don't know if it's at Mar-a-Lago, whatever, but just play the audio, please.
Where's gays for Trump? You don't look good. You don't look good.
Someone goes gays for Trump, and Trump goes, where's gays for Trump? And the person yelled over here, and Trump responds, you don't look gay. Is he honestly, he could be, if he wasn't a politician, we know he could be a businessman. He proved he could be a politician. Could he be a comedian? He could, he's very entertaining.
Yes.
I forget the podcast he went on. There was tons of sound clips, but again, we just can't play him for time reasons. He killed it. You would want to just be in the conversation with him and them guys. All right, and then the exact opposite of, I'm embarrassed to play this, Ryan. I sent this to you earlier. It's a Steelers fan talking about his three most issues this election, and I think it was during the Cowboys game tailgate, the afternoon of Sunday. Just play the audio.
Jeff Clausen is a retired union member. What's most important to you this year?
Three things. How you feel about unions, women's rights, and gay rights.
And so where does that put you this year? Are you decided?
Harris, 110,000%.
Ryan, when you think of steel, or Pittsburgh, you think of steel, unions, gay rights, and women's rights, right?
Yeah. Unions, of course, but yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say abortion. Why not? Is that a fake? I'm not accusing him of being a fake Steelers fan, but is that a fake interview? What Steelers?
Yeah, right.
I just don't understand. I've been to a lot of Steelers games. I never met a person like that before in my life.
No, and especially not talking that mildly either in conversation. Usually when you're at a Steeler game, you're having fun, and you're not saying that, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Did you see what Magic Johnson said?
No.
Magic Johnson said he's not only sure who black people should vote for this election, but he's HIV positive.
He said that?
No, I made that up.
Okay.
But he did say that for black people to vote for Kamala Harris. So I don't know. Do you still trust stars or even care at all what they say anymore?
I don't. You know, and the more that you learn, the less you trust them.
And then the worst story of the day, breaking. Star Wars unveils the first transgender clone trooper named Sister. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with Star Wars 2. I'm done with it all, I think. We need to win. We need to win this fall, or the election this fall. And day one, January 20th, 2025, Accountability Day. This all has to go bye-byes. Clone troopers. Aren't there... I don't understand. What would the Emperor think of this? Don't think that...
what do you want?
The Jedi Order, what would they think of this kind of stuff? I don't know. They're...
Yeah, what are they? They're troopers?
It's the first transgender clone trooper. I guess the clone troopers were before the stormtroopers. The stormtroopers are all clones, if you don't know your Star Wars lore. And the clone troopers, they take like Boba Fett and they clone him a million times, whatever. That's the clone trooper. So apparently I don't know what happened.
Being a Star Trooper wasn't good enough, I guess.
No.
I just the stormtrooper. I'm sorry.
The best thing is, when Princess Leia put the stormtrooper on, you really didn't even know she was like female. So what's it matter anyway? No one asked for this. No one asked for this. This is what you get with Star Wars and Wilkins. You get fires out of space and transgender clone troopers. All right, that's it. What do we got? Like 10 seconds left. All right, who plays tonight?
Who do we have? San Francisco and Seattle.
Wow. I got to take San Fran. That's the bread and circus for today. Who do you like?
I like San Francisco in this game as well.
I've been pretty terrible throughout the year, but what are you going to do, man? All right, that's it for today's episode. We'll be back Monday, 5 to 6 p.m. We got a couple issues with pick game and something else. We might be at hour early one day.
That's on the 24th. That'll 24th. Be 2 weeks from today.
Okay, so 2 weeks from today. And Halloween also, the 31st. We might come an hour or a half hour earlier, depending on some things. I got to do the trick-or-treating thing with my son. But that's it. We'll be back on Monday. Only 20-some days after the election. Monday marks the 3-week point. Listen then. As of now, enjoy your weekend. You're listening to Thinking Logically. I'm Joe Corsai, 99.3 FM, WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas. In addition to